All right, my name is Ricky from Wall of Sound, and I'm here with Marcus Bridge from Northlane. How the hell are you going, man?
I'm doing great, Ricky. Very, very good.
It's awesome, man. We just spent a great time chatting with you only 2 days ago at Full Tilt in Melbourne. How are you feeling after that?
I'm feeling great. Yeah, you caught me preset, so I was feeling a bit anxious. But now that it's all done, I'm feeling very good and feeling very, filled with energy again after such a long time not playing a show. I mean, it was a bit scary going up there after 2 years, not really knowing what was going to come out of this. But no, that was so awesome. I couldn't have imagined it going any better.
That's fantastic. We were talking about your Albury show the other day, just before you went up on Full Tilt as well. But now that you were going on stage later that evening, just before you were about to go on stage, what was going through your head?
Just the classic pre-show butterflies. We also had some backing track issues where the click wasn't playing in our ears, but the tracks were playing, and we had no idea what was going on for a little while. So we had to delay. We had to delay the set a little bit, and that was pretty anxiety-inducing. But as soon as it as soon as it got fixed, it was business as usual, and also just that feeling of kind of going on stage and forgetting that whole hour, and then coming off and be like, "Wow, we did it! That's crazy."
Was that real?
Exactly. It does. Was that a big dream? Have I? I wake up and it's still 2019, and it's never happened.
You
No.
mean the COVID pandemic's about to start? Is that the nightmare?
Yes, that's the nightmare. Actually, the track's not working is literally John's nightmare. He's told us multiple times about him being like ready to play the show, and then realizes nothing's plugged in, nothing's working, and he can't figure out how to make it work. And that literally happened on one of the biggest shows we played in, well, ever really, but the first big show played in like 2 years, and his nightmare manifested into the real world.
Well, the funny part about it is that fans don't even notice that there's anything wrong. They just think that you're coming on late because the hype is so real. And then you finally come on stage and everyone's like even more excited than they were initially.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Cut everything I just said before. Yeah, that was all part of the plan. It wasn't technical difficulties at
I'm
all.
actually doing some PR for Northlane on the side. So
Yeah. Lovely.
anyway, mate, it was a wonderful show. I was so happy to see you guys back on stage. And when you said that there were some special surprises, you were right.
Yes, there was a whole lot of. It was a mess up there, to be honest. There was flames. We had confetti. We had the CO2. We had the sparklers. To be honest, I didn't even know we had that much. I the flames just kept coming, and I was like, "Do we have enough gas for this? How is this working? What's going on?" It's crazy as well that those flames just like suck the oxygen out of your throat, so
Yeah, you'd be
kind
getting
of
warm,
sink
mate.
you can't breathe. Yeah. But yeah, that was so much fun. It was really awesome to be able to come back with something quite big. And I think everyone seemed to enjoy it quite a lot.
I think it was fantastic, man. I think the set list was awesome. It sort of, spanned the whole duration of Northlane's career. And I think everyone was just stoked to just have Northlane back playing live music. So brilliant.
Yeah.
But mate, we're here to talk about bigger and better things as well. You guys have Obsidian coming up really, really soon, and I want to do a bit of a deep dive with you on the record. And I wanted to start off with Carbonized being the sort of freshest song that fans have heard. And both sonically and lyrically, I find it's a really interesting one. And I wanted to start with the latter. There's sort of this cognitive dissonance around fans' experience when skirting the line of whether I'm a fan or an ally of this band, based on finding out that they've been abusers and things like that. And you had a quote about that in the song. Tell me a bit more around what about that concept caught your attention when writing the song.
Well, I found that, there were a lot of bands or members of bands that, even like I grew up listening to and, looking up to really. And there's been just, awful stuff that has come out about them. And, it's very easy to be selfish and be like, yeah, but these bands or whoever have been such a big inspiration for me. So like I can't not enjoy them or whatever it might be. But as this kind of kept getting, I don't know, more and more of these kind of cases coming up, I was just like, this isn't the side to be on. Like, to defend someone who's done something awful just because you really enjoy their music or looked up to them at some point in your youth or whatever. I mean, I think it's really important to, kind of be on the side of victims and people who have kind of gone through this thing, and imagining how difficult it would be to be someone who has gone through something awful like that, and to see whoever it might be living keeping their career going as if nothing ever happened. If not, people enjoying them even more because they released some music that they think is really good. And I know it's a hard thing to wrap your head around, especially if a band means a lot to you, but it's just not okay, I don't think, to defend someone who's done something awful like that. And I mean, I think there is a line, you might have a relationship breakdown, and just because, I don't know, someone might have made a mistake, but when it comes to someone being abusive or someone being violent or anything that's, just not, I think we know what is right and wrong and what is a mistake and what's actually someone being kind of evil.
Totally. And again, it's about that cognitive dissonance, right? Where, a lot of us have similar values where we sort of know what's wrong and what's right, but we have this extended relationship with this band, whether it may be As I Lay Dying or whether it may be, whatever band. And it's like, oh, where do I go from here? They're releasing music that's great, but morally, there's a lot happening in the world right now around being a bit more supportive around some of the claims that we're hearing.
Definitely. And I think it's really important to be on that side of things, on the side of hearing the people who have suffered and hearing what they have to say and not discounting that at all. And really, I mean, and I think this isn't necessarily even, it's not a matter of it being up to the artist, it's up to the fans of the music. It's up to the artist to, I guess, make amends and, show that they're remorseful and that they know what they've done is wrong, and that, you shouldn't be able to use that to your advantage, or like sweep it under the rug and hope people forget about it. I mean, it's up to the fans to be like, no, what you have done is wrong, and I'm not supporting what you're doing anymore. But it's, I see too much like separate the art from the music, but like you can't do that how can you support someone who's doing these awful things just because you like a song? That's not. It doesn't really kind of equate to the same thing, I don't think.
Yeah, and do you think that the tides are changing at all, where more fans are being a bit more aware and changing their behavior towards what you're referring to than, say, 5 years ago and before that?
I think it's happening, but it still feels like it's happening quite slowly. And I think, like, it was definitely, almost, I know, it was almost an expected thing, not to, be going after underage girls or anything. That's awful. But I mean, to be in a band and to be living this rock star life and be doing kind of whatever you want. It almost feels like people think that that's just what being in a band is.
Right.
Or like, and I think it's important to change that kind of message. I mean, being in a band isn't about bloody getting with girls and doing whatever you want. It's about creating music and creating something that people can relate to. And I just think it's something that still has a lot of ground to make up, I think.
Yeah, it's eliminating that get out of jail free card, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, literally.
Yes, I did not think about the literal sense, but yes. But Carbonized, I'm also really interested in how it sounds as well. So sonically, Carbonized and some of the other singles we've heard off the record so far really fuses some genres that we haven't heard Northlane do before. We've heard you guys dabble a little bit, but with Carbonized especially, I'm hearing metalcore, gent, prog, industrial, EDM. So Carbonized more broadly at Obsidian as well. What were some of the contributing factors to some of these sounds that we're hearing in Obsidian?
Well, yeah, I think the electronic element, was something that we were experimenting with on Alien, and after people were receptive to that, I mean, I think that gave us a bit more freedom and a bit more confidence to go down that rabbit hole a bit more. And I mean, that's what John, our guitarist, is passionate about. He's the one who kind of creates all of this awesome music and these soundscapes. And I just think, yeah, it's a new element that we've not been able to dive so deeply into before. And with that, I think it offers a lot of opportunities to do something different in terms of the vocals, in terms of, the rhythms of how I'm singing. It's hard to pinpoint any direct influences. I found myself being more influenced by like lyrics than like, I guess, vocalist styles or anything. I kind of wanted to make sure that whatever I was putting into the actual performance of these songs was just what felt natural for the songs. I mean, there's a few songs that have been kind of inspired by other things. Is This a Test was actually it came up with that in the studio, and that was inspired by a song by Planet Funk called, is it called Who Said? Who something? I actually can't remember, but we were sitting in the spa after like a pretty stressful day, and John put this song on, and it just had this kind of, what's the song? It's like, I've never been to the USA. We were listening to that song, and I was like, what if we tried doing that on this song? Something like that kind of vocal style. It's kind of just a one note, just singing this thing over and over again.
Okay.
But besides that, I mean, most of what was kind of come up with on this album was very just natural to how the music sounded, I think.
Absolutely. And you said you were talking about, you were thinking about vocals a lot naturally when writing the record and that kind of thing. And actually, when I spoke to you a couple of years ago for the last album, we talked a lot about some of the really deeply personal lyrics on that album and how heavy that was for you personally. Do you feel like that album sufficiently helped you come to peace with some of those things? Or did you feel like you wanted to uncover more of that on Obsidian?
I feel with Alien, it kind of had the opposite effect. I think writing those songs was very therapeutic for me, but there was a bit of an aftermath that came from it, from people in my family kind of having a bit of backlash to that, including my mum, who actually ended up passing away not too long after the album came out, and other family members who had a lot to say about what I had to say, which was really hard because in the end I am speaking from experience and the things that I've gone through, and a lot of stuff that they might not really understand the depths of, but at that same time it wasn't something that I wanted to keep exploring and keep feeling, I don't know, this guilt, even though that, it's not guilt that I should feel, but I couldn't help but feel guilty and feel bad. And in another roundabout way, like, I feel bad because I know these songs have been quite helpful for people listening to it, and people can relate to these stories that, are kind of specific to a certain way people have been brought up. And I know a lot of people did connect with that, and it feels kind of bad not being able to be available to discuss that stuff as much because I'm feeling guilty. So with this new album, I definitely wanted to step away from the more intricate details of like my upbringing and stuff, and talk more about just the feelings I was feeling, I think. And with the last couple of years, that's been full of anxiety and stress and, feelings of like being an imposter, like feeling like, am I where I'm meant to be? And like, do I have a career after all this is done? When after all we're back in the real world, is this where I'm meant to be? There was so much doubt around Obsidian, and mostly for me, to be honest, just being doubtful of myself. So this album, yeah, just turned out very kind of dark, a lot darker than Alien, I think, because even though there's a lot of dark stories on Alien, there was kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, being that, you know, I'm still around and still pushing forward and trying to, you know, create a life that was different to the life I was brought up in. Whereas this album's just like, I'm in a rut and I don't know how to get out of it at the moment. So yeah, I think that's it's where things kind of differ a little bit.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot of baggage to carry coming into a new album cycle, with both the personal reaction that you've been dealing with from Alien, but also the band on a musical level going through COVID and the unexpected future that comes with live music. And, you know, even at the start of this chat, when we were talking about how incredible the weekend was just because of merely how long it's been.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of emotion, man.
Yeah, it's even still like it's been a bit confusing listening back to the album, and yeah, kind of trying to listen to it with a positive ear, and an ear that can be proud of it. I think what we've done is really awesome, but it's still hard for me to look past the feelings that I was going through recording that, and yeah, trying to move forward and think what comes next.
Yeah, it must be really challenging because on one hand, you've got the fact that you've recorded this deeply raw album that you know so many fans will connect with, and it'll help them get out of so much of the pain they're in. But on the other hand, it sounds like it's quite painful for you to listen to, not to mention having gone through this with Alien, you sort of felt those negative emotions you sort of felt like you felt afterwards. Yeah, that's an interesting space to be in.
Absolutely. It's, yeah, still figuring it out.
Absolutely. Do you sort of feel like, as hard as it is to go through some of these emotions and write some of these lyrics, it still remains a positive outlet for you to be able to express and deal with them?
I think so. And I think with writing these songs, something, yeah, like I said earlier, I was trying to focus more on like lyrics and on like the more poetic side of lyrics, I think, trying not to be as literal. And I found inspiration from a lot of weird places in that regard. Like, something that might sound odd, one of my like bigger inspirations for lyric writing on this album was Reliant K, which is like a Christian pop punk band.
Interesting.
But there's something about I'm not religious or anything, but there's something about Matt Thiessen, the vocalist in that band, how he writes is so, I don't know, it's really special to me. I feel like they could be writing a Christian song or whatever, but there's something in those songs that you can always find your own meaning in. And that's something that I really wanted to kind of bring into our music in a different way, I think. And I guess in a lot darker a way as well, because I don't think Reliant K lyrics are kind of as mental as the Northlane stuff. But for me, I just really found a lot of joy and comfort in trying to better my lyric writing, and that was something that really helped me, just listening to that band and a bunch of other bands, but really trying to focus on my lyric writing and not so much on how personal a story might be, I guess.
Sure. Now, I spoke to Josh about a year ago ahead of Full Tilt before the festival got moved a million times. And we were talking during that time we actually were in the Dandenong Ranges recording the album. And I guess I was interested in what was the effect of sort of being in the forest, so to speak, in terms of creating some absolutely gnarly sounds. Were you guys able to just get into the right mood and atmosphere?
Definitely. I think being up there was good to kind of get away from any distraction as well, just being able to be a band again after so long. I think it's kind of crazy. Like, we hadn't really been together in a group for a year or so at that point. We'd all been kind of chipping away personally at what we were doing, but yeah, we hadn't been in the same room, and you know, it was a kind of a slow start, especially for me. I think with all of these feelings I was feeling and all of the yeah, anxious thoughts I had, I really needed to sit down with the guys and like tell them where I was at. I feel like I didn't really have that opportunity through lockdown to kind of tell them how I was feeling, and that I was, you know, struggling quite a lot through lockdown, and yeah, feeling kind of lost. So I think just being able to be there as a group, as, you know, a bunch of friends as well after so long, was really important, and not to be kind of too comfortable to be able to like get out of there. I think it was just so good to be in a place for a reason after so long, and to be able to yeah, just reconnect as a band. It was still a lot of work, and we self-produced this album as well, which I think put a lot of pressure on all of us. I think John and I in particular, because we were tracking a lot of our own stuff. I was tracking my vocals, and he was doing a lot of his guitar and electronic stuff himself. So it was really kind of interesting to kind of get back into this groove, but also just have to go 100% straight back to work and really grind it out. But that being said, I think going up to the Dandenongs was the best thing we could do. I think if we went back to Sydney and did it with Blancato or at Electric Sun, like, we might feel a bit comfortable and it'd feel a bit too yeah, a bit complacent, I think. So I think it was the best thing we could have done, was to kind of escape into the mountains somewhere where we couldn't really get back home, and just really lock into what we were doing.
Absolutely. Now, are you a Melbourne boy?
I am.
Right. So you literally were able to get out of this 5-kilometer radius lockdown stuff finally. And it wasn't just getting back with the band. It was like, we're out in the forest, like we're out of our homes.
Absolutely. It was really nice to be kind of, yeah, somewhere new for the first time in a year. And also, it also meant, you know, our partners could come up and visit on the weekend when we had a day off. So there was still that ability to feel, you know, connected to our home. But yeah, I mean, just to be able to get out and feel some fresh mountain air. Just being cooped up in my room, in my house for so long, it was good to get out and be somewhere new.
Yeah, nice. Fresh mountain air without having to go all the way to Gothenburg in Sweden or something to write an album, right?
100%. Yeah, no.
That's awesome. But look, mate, in terms of how the album's turned out, having listened to the full album in advance, like, it doesn't take an aficionado to appreciate the level of layers and textures that have gone on into each and every song. How much passion went into this album? Like, you guys could have just recorded whatever comes to mind, but it's so clear that you spent so long on each and every song. Tell me what it means to you to be able to do that.
It's so important, and we're all super passionate. I mean, there was a lot of arguments in the studio as well, just because, you know, we are all very yeah, we know what we want to do, but, you know, every now and then people have different opinions, and we all want what's best for the band and what's best for these songs. But yeah, as we have delved deeper into this electronic elements of things, people are really getting on board, and also just becoming a bit more interested in the more analog aspect of it. I mean, you know, there's been bands who've put electronic elements in their music for a long time, but I think what John's been doing, and the more hands-on approach he's had to it, as opposed to like programming a synth in a DAW, he's not just thinking of a melody and writing it in. He's like creating something out of nothing through just, I don't know, modular. I don't know how it works, to be honest. But I think people are really kind of really interested by that, because it's not something that a lot of bands in our world do. I think there's a lot of expansion in what John has done with the electronic elements. So
So
It's
much
been really cool.
expansion, but so much experimentalism as well. And this is at a time where you guys have really gone fully independent. It must feel pretty scary to take that dive at the same time.
A little bit, but I think, yeah, I think we've definitely found our feet and are confident in knowing what we want to be doing. Um, so I feel like you're not going to get anywhere unless you take a few risks and you kind of try and push things a little further than they have been before. Um, and it's definitely scary, but I think just the amount of growth that Northlane has had over the years, people have kind of grown to expect that we're going to be doing something a bit weird every time or something new every time.
Definitely.
And yeah, we just love experimenting and trying new things and trying to find something new in this heavy world, I guess.
So it comes back to the same old controversy around the band either releasing the same album every single time or at least being able to grow and evolve and experiment and maybe throw fans something new that they might not have heard before, even at the risk of getting a few fans saying, "What happened to Northlane? We used to love Northlane," all that kind of stuff, right?
Totally. But I think it's like we've made it like it's been important to us to make sure that that heavy element is still there. We've never tried to replace the heaviness of what we've been doing with electronics or trying to make things, more poppy or whatever you want to call it. We've only ever done what we felt was like natural and what we want to do. And I think there's songs on this album that are heavier than Alien. But then also moments that are a lot softer and a lot more calm, I think. So yeah, I think it's just important to us that we're not trying to just like write a pop album or anything. We're just trying to bring these new things into what we're doing, and hopefully they work and hopefully people resonate with it. But we're really, really proud of every kind of little weird step we take.
Oh, totally. I mean, there's only so many times you can recycle the same old metalcore recipe, right? So to be able to add so many new elements to it, I think is awesome.
And I mean, there's so many bands that are like infinitely heavier than us. We're never going to be the heaviest band in the world, but we're so much more interested in creating something different and a bit left of center. And we're just really stoked that people resonate with that.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, it's absolutely not about being the heaviest band on earth, but being like an interesting one where you can actually try different things and bring new elements into your music, which you guys have definitely done, both with Alien and with Obsidian, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal.
I love that. Now, fans have heard, obviously, Carbonized, but also Clockwork and Echo Chamber and stuff like that. When the album comes out, will there be any tracks you think people will be surprised about?
Definitely. I think Is This a Test is going to be a bit of a shock, because that is it's kind of just a rave song, to be honest, but with some heavy guitars behind it. I think Clarity as well kind of has a bit of a throwback feel to, a bit of everything that Northlane's done. I don't know, it feels like there's a bit of like Genesis Scarab in there, as well as some Mesmer kind of vibes along the way.
Oof.
And I think there's just definitely a feeling of like everything that we've done has kind of come into this one package, especially with the song Clarity. But to be honest, I think there's a lot of new stuff on here that people are going to be just like, wait, what's going on? There's Nova as well. That's one of the most chill songs we've ever done, and I don't know if it's like mostly electronic drums and stuff. There's a lot to unpack on this album. It's also the longest album we've done, so I think people will be excited. It's like 55 minutes.
Wow, that is a seriously long album.
I think the longest before that was maybe 40, so it's definitely, hopefully it's not people don't take it as a quantity over quality. I think it's a bit of both. So, but yeah, I'm excited. I think people just have a bit of a journey to go on with this album.
Big leap. I'm really excited for you guys and for the world to hear it.
Yeah.
If you could describe the album in one word without using the word Obsidian, how would you describe it? Take your time.
Can I give you a few single words?
I'll take it, Marcus.
It's grim, and it's anxious. And unresolved. Because this album feels like there's no, like I said, there's no kind of light at the end of the tunnel. It's life is a bit hard at the moment, and hopefully it gets better. But that's how life is. Sometimes not everything wraps up into a neat little package. Sometimes stuff sucks, and you can't just write a few songs and expect it to go away. There's a lot of growth and stuff that needs to happen to be able to move forward and hopefully get to a more positive thing. So it's definitely a dark. Dark is my word.
I didn't think you could use a fourth word, Marcus. That's breaking the rules now, man. That's awesome. Look, no, I agree. I totally understand, and I think the world is not a Walt Disney picture where you write an album and you can come out of it and being like, oh, the weight's fully off my shoulders now, and I can go ahead and live my life. I think it's probably a journey, and I think that fans will probably appreciate that as well.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Well, look, Marcus, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us here at Wall of Sound. We're really excited for Obsidian, and I think fans really appreciate you putting your heart on your sleeve for everything you do. And we just wish you the best of luck with the record.
Thank you so much, Ricky. Great to chat.